Dear Santa, this year I want V-Bucks. I want Robux. I want a subscription to PlayStation Plus. I want a pack of gum. I want 3 months of YouTube Premium. I want you to whisper a word into my ear that I can't possibly remember. I want everything I have to expire. Give me Game Pass. Give me a sloppy Joe on a paper plate. Merry Christmas. I love you. Aiden. It's tough to figure out my angle for the news this week. You see, Reseda is this hacker slash malware group who stole a lot of data from Insomniac Games last week. And they took that data and they held it for ransom, starting bid 50 Bitcoin. Which doesn't seem that bad, but it turns out 50 Bitcoin is worth around 2.2 million US dollars. And then when most of that data went unsold, Reseda then just released it online to everyone, I guess as a message to the next video game studio or hospital they choose to steal from. So in terms of leaks, it is brutal. A lot of personal information of Insomniac employees there. And then you'll see headlines out there about Wolverine, which honestly I've not looked at all. I can't even tell you what's going on there. But then also like a timeline, the next 10 years of what Insomniac is planning, to which I would just say it probably wouldn't surprise you. But then there's also this upper tier business shit that most people in the company wouldn't be allowed to see. Quick example. There's this moment in Spider-Man 2 where Miles is at this school fair and he walks up to like a sexual health information booth. And I said this.
If they really wanted to go all the way, there would be a bowl of condoms.
Well, because of this malicious hack, we can look at Disney's content restrictions and we can see that contraceptives are simply not permitted. So now we all know that there's no such thing as condoms in any Marvel video game. Good luck, Wolverine. But the main feeling I'm getting from these leaks is not, ooh, this is interesting, let's talk about this. It's more one of dread. Just this foreboding dread, this nightmare that you can create the fastest selling PlayStation game of all time, and still your corporate managers can waddle into your office and ask you to cut 10% of your workforce. I'm referencing Kotaku's really good article about the leaks, titled, What Hacked Files Tell Us About the Studio Behind Spider-Man 2, written by Ethan Gotch. So we find some really interesting details about how plans changed throughout the months of presentations that leaked, and unfortunately, that the plan to cut 50 to 75 employees doesn't change. Basically, Insomniac's AAA budgets are ballooning rapidly, and Sony is saying, you gotta quit that. And it's just like, damn. Them too? Insomniac too? Who gets to relax? Who are we allowed to feel happy for? And as Eurogamer will tell you, you can't talk about 2023 in games without talking about layoffs. And I mean, you can. Obviously. Nobody's going to stop you. But the reason I keep thinking about that aggressive headline is that it feels so true. It's like, yeah, every year is bad. Every year I've talked about video games has been bad, but 2023 has been disproportionately bad. There aren't any solidly reported numbers apparently, but Robert Purchase, the author of that Eurogamer article, believes it's about 10 times worse than last year. So it's notably bad. It's abnormally bad. Here I am confirming to you on video once more. It's been a bad year for game developers. And it feels like it's my responsibility, it's my duty to make sure that everyone feels appropriately bad before we start talking about good things. It's like, everybody feel bad now? Y'all feel bad? We can't start until everybody feels bad. I don't feel bad. Did you hear that Embracer shut down that studio that was making Time Splitters 3?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, now I feel bad.
Okay. We're all bad. Here's my top 10 for 2020. So one thing I've done more in 2023 than I think in any year before is I've really started taking a lot of screenshots and sometimes clips of the games that I'm playing. And yeah, probably if you go back and check the archives, I probably was somebody who thought that the addition of the share button on the PlayStation 4 controller was unnecessary. But here I am probably using that button more than R3. And they're not vacation photos, I know that. They're just, screenshots trapped on my consoles. But I think psychologically, it's just this matter of not wanting to forget the games I'm playing. When I'm looking back through all the images I saved this year, so many of them are just like me being there, appreciating the depth of an environment on a fundamental level. This just really does something for me. And yeah, sometimes I'll just take a picture of some like confident NPC sprawled out in a back alley. But yeah, I truly value being able to save those moments, or at least reinforce them, right? It's like taking notes during a lecture. Chances are you're not going to remember anything that just happened, but it's at least dramatically more likely now. When it comes down to hundreds of game designers ruining their lives to make a thing I might enjoy for a couple of weekends, I feel like it's the least I can do. Thanks for spending 5 years to let me do this, Insomniac. I talked about this a few weeks ago. This relatively new, rising emotion where I'm feeling secondhand anxiety for video games that are coming out. So 2023 has been a tremendous year. It really has. And yeah, of course, that meant there are some B and C tier video games that got overshadowed. But even like Mortal Kombat 1 and Star Wars Jedi Survivor didn't quite hit like I expected they would. This would have changed my life 15 years ago. I gotta remember this. It just sucks. It sucks to be scared for video games. It sucks to feel scared for the people who are making this thing that you love. You just have to hope that it's an outlier. You have to hope that just 2023 was just a terrible year for turmoil and layoffs, and that 2024 things might return to this sort of healthy normalcy. All you can hope is for Eurogamer to say you can't talk about 2024 in games without talking about how good the video games are. And just in case you were curious about my 2023 Game of the Year, I told you back in May it's Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm still right about that. This is a game that just makes you play. You can't progress in this game without creative problem solving and experimentation and engineering. And I mean, technically, I guess you could just Google how should I glue these logs together. But that's not the game's fault. That's your thing. But really, I don't think I've ever played a video game that is more open-ended in terms of its mechanics. Do this however you want, says that game, and I love it for that. Yes, the map is old, but truthfully, they could drop that game into the hub world of Glover and it would still be GOATY, no question. And that is delayed input for this week. There will be no new video next week, so that means I'll be back January 5th. Until then, thanks for watching. All right, I do have an accolade for you. Best feeling of 2023. More than getting a huge win in Modern Warfare 3. More than landing a successful romance in Starfield. The best feeling of 2023 is getting a watermelon in Suika game. So like in a lot of puzzle games, there's the moment you've been setting up, you've been working, you've been planning, you've set up this whole cool thing to happen, and then when it finally does happen, that's very rewarding, right? That's Tetris. Great. Feels awesome. What makes Suika games so special is that you're not quite sure it's going to happen. It's a chaos puzzle game, right? There's no time limit. There are only rubbery fruits with unpredictable physics. Mostly predictable physics, I should say. And so the game is about you making plans and the fruits destroying your plans. And you simply have to react to that. And so there's just something raw about the chaos. There's just something honest about it. You are full of stress, you're full of fear, and you're full of hope. And so when you're on the verge of a watermelon, you know you could lose it all in a couple of more fruits, or you could be rewarded with order, with one giant, round, winking watermelon. Ultimate satisfaction.